When this boy meets world.
What up, bros?
What up, bro? Chicka, 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 bros.
And welcome to Bro Meets World.
When it's Bro Meets World.
Your Boy Meets World fan. Your Boy Meets World fan.
No one else's. It's yours. We're here for you.
I'm Siege.
And I am Tony Curtis. How are you, sir?
I'm always excited to see. I'm like, who are we getting? Is it Tony? Is it T? Where are we at?
You know what? I like to play it by ear. Guys, when I would come on to this podcast, when I talk to Siege, there's an energy. And we're always like feeling each other's energies out.
Yeah,
right now, I feel like we're like in it. Like there's a lot of excitement that we have right now for this podcast. I'm excited to talk to you about this episode. There's just a ton of excitement I have. So Tony Curtis, I am for today.
Does my cow onesie not read in it to win
No,
it? Like down for the phone?
For those who are listening to this podcast, Siege is wearing a cow onesie, and it does have an udder at the belly.
It does.
As soon as I saw it, I called him an other brother. It looks great. Looks great.
Here, if I'm being honest, it was just cold in my house, and I was like, I could put on a sweater, or I can make this funky. So.
Yo, what the hell's been going on in LA? It's been freezing. It's raining all day. I'm done with it.
So cold, and it's raining constantly. Here's the thing. I'm one of those people who looks on the bright side of things. I'm like, LA needs the rain.
Sure.
So as inconvenient as it is, keep it coming. But I also don't like driving in the rain. Don't like going anywhere in the rain. My
don't
dog
like walking my dog. Yes.
Logan, my dog hates going outside in the rain. Like we'll be like, go pee some poops, and he's like, no, I'm good. I'll hold it.
I don't know if you ever seen a golden retriever pooping in the pouring rain. It's the saddest thing you'll ever see. It looks like Shawn. He looks like Shawn at the end of this episode. Like he just.
Oh, that's hilarious. Let's just talk about this episode because this episode, I will say this. Watching this episode, I was like, it has its peaks, it has its valleys. It's another one of those episodes where I was like, walking away, there's so much meat on the bone that I don't really feel like we get it into. Yeah. But there's a lot to say. So that's like a little prelude to this episode for me.
I don't know if I walked into this just assuming this would be a throwaway episode, but my expectations were so low that when I saw it, I was like, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So,
I'm just saying, there's some meat on this bone. I'm really
for sure
interested to talk to you about this episode. Okay, so I guess the only thing to do is to get into the tell me about
it. Tell us about it. Shawn and Angela try to move on. But when she sings a song with another, Shawn is left out, replaced by a new lover.
Ooh, good for you. Mm-hmm. And new lover. I won't talk about the lover. Okay, but this is season 6, episode 12, Cutting the Cord. Shawn and Angela draw up a restraining order that forbids Cory and Topanga from any further interference in their romantic lives. Here's the thing. I'm not going to lie. I laughed because I was like...
Amazing. I can't wait.
I get it. Okay, anyway. But Shawn still has a difficult time seeing Angela date someone else, especially when they all end up at the same restaurant together. While there, the couples enter a karaoke contest. In a B storyline, Alan has a midlife crisis and tries to solve his problems by shopping for a motorcycle. I have things to say, but I will let you go and tell me your things.
Well, let me just say this right off the bat. I love that we get an episode that reminds us that Amy is pregnant, because if you're watching this season, that might be something you're just finding out. They don't really make it very clear. Yeah. I love that we're seeing the only thing about the pregnancy thing, which we're going to get into, is that this is, Alan and Amy, they're in their 40s, they're having a baby, and we're checking to see how Alan is dealing with it. Maybe check to see how Amy's feeling about this.
I didn't think of that, but that's such a good. I was just happy to see Amy again.
Sure,
if I'm being honest, I was just really happy. I was like, "Oh, we're acknowledging that she's pregnant." But the opening line is like, "God, these women are fat," and
that's the first line of the episode.
Okay, we're dealing with 90s jokes right now. Where pregnant women being fat is the joke, and the worst thing that a woman could be is fat. And it's also very interesting considering that we know that a lot of the actors have body image issues. Why would you put this in there? What is funny about a pregnant woman, someone carrying life, being bigger than she usually would be?
I have to
what's
say,
funny about that?
the reason I kind of laughed when I heard that joke had nothing to do with the joke itself, but just this idea that, for a long period of time, we actually thought it was funny to call pregnant women fat or to make fat jokes about pregnant women. I'm like, how we all got here the same way, right?
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, this is what life is. Like, I don't understand the joke of it, but it's just kind of funny that even is a thing at all.
And of course, like, part of this scene is like the joke is that men don't take women being pregnant seriously or birthing class seriously. And I don't know, I found the whole situation very weird. That does bring me to the first person on our roll call, which is Kirsten Nelson, who I know mostly as the police chief on Psych.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, I was like, where do I recognize her from?
She's on Psych, but guess what? In the first season of Psych, she's pregnant. And I was pregnant. What are you, just like a pregnant character actor? Are you always pregnant? Like, what are we doing? Like,
she's the Ali Wong of the 90s. She's just always pregnant.
I was very interested as to, like, did she use this clip to show that she could be pregnant and still act? I have no idea.
It's on her reel. She has a separate pregnancy reel.
I just thought that was very funny because I was like, oh, I've only seen her as like pregnant woman still going about her life, which, I guess that's a genre. But she's been in a bunch of things. And also she plays Jessica in this episode, who is the woman next to Amy in birthing class. And I found this weird because it felt like such a shoehorned character to have the woman without her husband who's still married. Like, it's not like there's no dad. He's just, off in the military, and Eric suddenly is without a partner. It was like, so why did we, like, this was all set up to just have Eric also be in the birthing class.
Yeah, I thought that the only reason Jessica's there is to shoehorn Eric into the storyline that has no reason to have Eric in it. Even though, like, we do kind of get this really emotional sentiment between Eric and Alan at the end of the episode, there's really no reason for Eric to be there at all.
Does Amy not have any other friends? Like,
does Alan not have friends that he can talk to besides going to Eric? Like, we haven't developed these characters, so we have to lean on our established characters to kind of fill in the places where they wouldn't naturally go. I couldn't help but think about I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode where he gives birth to Vanessa Williams in the parking lot of the Staples Center. That is such a more organic, like, hey, I'm randomly with this pregnant woman, and I, being a non-married, non-father, have to figure out what to do here.
Absolutely.
I love that they do that storyline really well. In terms of having Eric participate in this, there's no reason, because this is really Alan's arc. As much as I feel like we should be looking at Amy, if we're just going to look at what Alan's arc is, this is really about him being afraid of becoming a father again at this stage of his life. So him just coming to the Mozcast late, saying, hey, sorry I'm late, I was looking at motorcycles, could have accomplished everything the story wanted without Eric even being there.
That was my whole thing. It was like, we don't need Eric, and we don't need Jessica. Like, we don't need any of that for this episode to still work. For Alan to show up late, Amy be like, you left me here alone, for him to be like, oh, I was looking at motorcycle, give Amy more work to do, give Amy more lines, and they can have like a back and forth. Then guess what? Alan can still go to Eric and tell him his plans and concerns, and we can still get everything that we do with Jack and Rachel. But like, why not let birthing class be just Alan and Amy and give them the weight of it would give Amy a lot more screen time and a lot more to do other than be a weeble. And then also it's a situation that when I was watching it, I was really upset by even the idea of Alan getting a motorcycle. I was like, this is beyond, like, you were late to birthing class to your 40-year-old pregnant wife because you were trying to get a motorcycle. This is insanity.
Well, to me, I mean, it's insanity, but I don't think that's the most unbelievable thing a man has ever done.
Oh no, it's not unbelievable, but it's
yeah.
just insanity. And
Sure.
we need to, like, I needed Amy to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, totally.
Like, I need her to give, she has the right to react. You know what I mean?
You know what I audibly reacted to? Alan saying he was 43 years old.
I took notes. I was like, 43?
43? This is a midlife crisis. Why am I closer to your age than Cory's age? Like, I cannot deal with these 43-year-olds having a midlife crisis. To me, a midlife crisis is like late 50s, early 60s. And maybe this is just generationally, like, modern medicine has allowed for this in our time. Yeah. But like when he said 43, I was just like, Jesus Christ. And I was also kind of doing the math. I was like, what's Eric, 20 years old? This dude has been a dad since he was 23 years old.
Yep.
Morgan is going into high school soon. Like, he's thinking, I'm out. I'm finally going to get to do whatever the hell I wanted to do before I became a parent, which I was a child when I did. So, like, I can understand his whole, like, I'm afraid the baby is not going to, I'm not going to be a good enough father for this child because of my old age. But to me, that has nothing to do with a midlife crisis. Like, the whole motorcycle thing, I don't think relates to his fear of
I think it totally does. I think it totally does. And I'm going to push back here because I love the storyline itself of Alan being like, oh, I'm not as young as I was when I first had children. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to be able to I can't be the dad that I want to be to this child. And I think is what he's really saying. Alan is like, I had my kids young. I had them in my 20s, or even like Morgan, probably 30. And it was fine because I still had the energy. I still could like do things. But like, I'm in my 40s. My back's starting to hurt. I don't sleep at night all the time. And I'm going to have like a newborn. And a newborn is a whole different type of stress.
Yeah.
And I still have 3 kids, 2 who are in college, 1 who is engaged, and another one who is in grade school. This is a lot going on. And I run a business and I have a newborn. That's a lot of stress. So I get him like kind of freaking out, but I just wish we had gotten more of him freaking out and more of either Amy being there for him or Amy being like, you think this is just easy for me? I have the exact same number of children.
Okay, so the thing I think I'm really struggling with is tying his, like, I'm afraid of being old age with this, you know what, I'm selfishly going to get a motorcycle. Because to me, if his motivation was like, we're having another kid, I'm aging, and I'm realizing by the time I'm done with this kid, I'm going to be in my 60s. I'm not going to get a chance to do any of that. Then a motorcycle makes sense to me. Then it's like, I'm going to try to be as youthful as I can in this age I'm in right now. But that's not his motivation. His motivation is like, I want to be really healthy and be a good dad to this kid in my old age, which doesn't communicate motorcycle to me. So I think that to me is just the disconnect. It's just that his motivation doesn't align with his actions. And if he was acting out, there should have been a motivation behind that says this is why he's acting out. But
there is a little bit. And here's the thing. I agree with you that we don't get the time that we should get with this explanation, but there is a little bit of him being like, I haven't had, like, when else am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Like, when else am I going to get, I wanted a motorcycle when I was younger, but I had kids and I couldn't do it then. And then there's this new kid coming, and by the time that kid's grown, I'll be in my 60s. So when can I get this motorcycle?
Yeah.
This is the only time for me I have, like him, like, he's probably like, I have 3 months to get a motorcycle and just be that guy with a motorcycle that I've always wanted to be. But the reality of the situation is you can't be that guy.
I just want to say, I really wish that this story arc of Alan wasn't confined to 1 episode. This should have been a season arc. That we should have seen him like itching to do these kind of things, are, feeling hesitation about becoming a dad again from the season's opening episode.
Well,
But
I
it's
think
like,
that you and I have gotten used to serialized television.
yeah.
And
Oh,
this is
totally,
still
totally.
sitcom where it's
Yeah.
like problem, peak, solution. It's
Yeah.
just like that's what we're doing. And like, to be fair, like, we're experimenting with serialized television because that's what we're doing with the Shawn and Angela storyline.
Yeah.
But I think for them it's just like it's too much to keep like two storylines continuously going.
I'm saying if you're going to do it, if you're going to do season arcs, do them for every character, because not only do I wish we would have seen more of that, I kind of wish this would have been an Alan and Amy bottle episode, which I know would never happen in a traditional sitcom world, to have an episode just focus on these two characters. But to your point, what's Amy's response to what's going on? Alan, you're freaking out. I don't even know if I can deliver this baby in a healthy way, bro. Like, how are you making this about you? Like, there's could have been so much more that they focused on if they eliminated all of the Eric bullshit and just focused on Amy and Alan. It would have just been a richer episode. Not, I know, a family sitcom, but just something more depth.
Or hear me out. Have Eric be that kid stuck in the middle. Have Eric be like, Eric went to the class. Alan never shows up because he forgot, because he was too busy like looking at motorcycles. So first scene, Alan is not there. Amy and Eric are in the class. He's making jokes, and Amy's just like, your dad's been acting really weird lately. And have Eric be there for his mom, and that way we do have a reason to like include this in this kid's show, because there are moments and times as a child where you are stuck between your parents because they're not talking. And what does that responsibility look like? Feel like if we're intent on teaching as we do with Boy Meets World, then let this be an example of Eric is there for his mom during birthing class, and then he goes home to his apartment, and Alan just shows up, and he was like, hey, I got a motorcycle, and Eric's like, yo, why is this why you weren't at birthing class? And then again, we still get all of our attention, but we just are able to give the parents more to do, and it actually makes more sense for Eric to be there, and it's just kind of like it flows a little better.
You know what? That's a great point. And the one thing I do want to say that I really like about this storyline is that I love the fact that we are focusing in on this feeling of, what's it mean to have a new baby when you're an adult and you already have kids and responsibilities. Like, I mean, in this case, to your point, 2 kids in college, one is engaged. This shit's expensive. He's a small business owner. Like, there's so much on this feeling that, hey, I thought I was almost done, and now I have to start over again. And I feel like this is a highly relatable thing for a lot of families. And I'm really glad that they took the time to kind of focus in on what that feels like to go through, and what that feels like to be like, oh shit, like I have to start over now.
I think what's interesting is like the same thing happens with Rachel and Jack's dad. They all say, oh, my dad did the exact same thing. Like, it's not like to your point, it's not just the kid, it's everything. You're just at that age. And just to kind of like going back to what you were saying, I remember, I think midlife crises used to be like 35. Like 35. Like, no, like think about 90s television, and they'd be like, oh, he's going through like a midlife crisis, and the character would only be like in their 30s. And I think that's funny because, like, I say all this to say, one thing that Alan's concerned about is something that you're not really going to be able to overcome, because when you're younger, older people are just older people. So Alan's like, I'm just going to be his old man. And I'm like, yeah, but for a kid doesn't know that. You could be 23 and your baby is just like, this dude's ancient. Why? Because a child has no frame of reference and just assumes. I remember being young and thinking my parents were so old, so much older. You know what I mean? Because they were. But then I'm older. I'm like way older than my parents were when they had me
Yeah.
and my sister. And I'm like, I can't do this right now. But
Did you
like
see
they
that?
did that.
On Rugrats, Stu and Dee Dee are supposed to be like 33 and 32 years old or something like
Exactly.
that.
We're older than Stu and Dee Dee
It's crazy.
from Rugrats. That's insanity.
But it
and
is.
then also, let's go back in this. Alan and Amy are 43 with 3 kids and 1 on the way. No, thank you. I applaud everyone out there who's doing this. It's not my journey.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
It's not your journey, but it's also one of those things where the pressure that is on these two people to provide for 4 kids in the 90s is something that is probably so different than it is
Plus
today.
themselves.
Plus themselves. I'm telling you, this is going to be a family of 6. And I'm in 2023 being like, yeah, but like milk is like $8 right now. So how? Like how though? Like this dude has udders on his stomach trying to milk himself because milk is so expensive. So it's just like crazy to just think about how normal it was to just have a bunch of kids even going into your 40s and it just being this thing that was just expected.
But one of the things that like I think we have to acknowledge, both that this show addresses and just in general about the 90s, it did used to be normal to just have a bunch of kids, but you weren't being good parents. Like even providing didn't mean you were a good parent. It just meant that you paid bills. Being a good parent, what a kid wants is for you to be there, which is what Eric says. He was like, I have little league coaches who could teach me how to swing a baseball, but what was important was when I missed, you were there. And that to me is what I take away as one of the really key things about being a parent is so many parents are like, I want to give you the world. I want to do. It's like, yeah, but all I want to do is spend time with you.
Yeah.
Like that's
Eric,
all I want.
He's like, emotional support is really the main thing. You were there for me. You encouraged me. You uplifted me. Like, I just need emotional support. And you know what? You just brought such an interesting idea into my head. And I can't speak on this really because I don't have siblings. We've talked about this. I'm an only child. You have siblings. And I would be very curious for our listeners because the idea that you just kind of like thrown into my head was this notion that during like, you know, pre-80s when just having 6 or 7 brothers or sisters was normalized, there was also a time period where these parents weren't giving individual attention and emotional support to every child consistently. And I wonder how having multiple siblings affects the attention you get from your parents.
Oh, I can tell you exactly how it works because in college, I did my research on like birth order and all this other stuff. And like just after a certain amount of kids, you can't give them the attention that they need. And so inevitably, like I used to watch the show 8 is Enough. Like you ever and like even if you watch something like Cheaper by the Dozen, the idea is at some point in time, the parents can't always be there. They have to rely on the siblings to like pick up some of the slack, which is why you get sibling relationships and bonds that are like closer than others, where it's like the second oldest daughter is really close to like the baby of the family, or like the oldest brother and the 4th born are like really close. And that's because at a certain point in time, they become surrogate parents.
Yeah.
As the oldest child, I know that happened to me as well, where it's like, I didn't need that many kids. My mom worked and she also had 2 kids as a single mother. She couldn't be there all the time. So a lot of the memories that my sister has is of me doing all of these things. And it's just, parents are human, and human beings only have a finite amount of attention span and time. And so, yeah, it's going to affect how much time you can spend with your kids, which is why someone like Nick Cannon is like, you could say you're being there for your kids all you want to. You got 12 kids. There's no way for you to just be there and give them the amount of attention that they need.
It's such an interesting point. And if people are listening, and if you have a lot of siblings, or if you have a lot of children and this is like a struggle or something you have personal experience in, please like let us know, because I'm very curious just to kind of see how the number of siblings in the family affects the interpersonal relationships between parent and child on more specific basis for people who have that individual experience. So yeah, definitely let us know.
This show alone covers it in B Team of Life. Remember,
Yeah.
Amy was like, look, we're outnumbered. We don't have like one kid was doing something, another kid was doing something, and one got lost in the mix of it all.
Morgan.
And yeah, no. Well, that's who it is now. At this point in time, Morgan gets nobody's attention.
Both
literally.
Boys are in college and they still don't hang out with Morgan.
But and also with the new baby coming, Morgan will be lucky if she gets fed.
Yeah.
It's just, it reminds me that episode of B Team of Life. They acknowledge we are two parents with 3 kids. Yeah. Now we're 2 parents with 4 kids. Something's got to give. Luckily enough, 2 of our kids are out of the house, but you don't stop thinking about your kids. You don't stop worrying about them and making sure that they've eaten and they're fed, and this is college, so they don't have money.
Yeah.
All of these things. So I'm saying that Alan's dilemma completely makes sense and his freak out makes sense. I do feel like this is one that would have benefited from, as you said, getting Amy's perspective, having like some kind of response where they come together at the end and they're like, oh, we can do this. It's not just Alan, hey, you know what to do. Amy also knows what to do. This is her 4th child, and she is your partner, and you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. I have to say that even though I felt like Eric was kind of shoehorned into this story, I do love the conversation he has with Alan at the end, like giving him reassurance. You were a great father. The things that you did weren't because of you running around with us, but because of that emotional support that you were able to give. I thought that was a great little moment between those 2 characters. And I also just like really, even though, again, shoehorned in, like Eric's character in this episode, like last time we saw Eric, he was manipulating large groups of orphans. He was, holding his roommate hostage. Like he was doing some really out there shit. So to see him have a much more grounded storyline and something that's more relatable of him, helping his parents out while they're trying to figure out this newborn situation, like that just seems like a better way to use Eric. So for nothing else, I can give the show credit for that.
I'm also not going to lie. I know that they don't like this or they don't like themselves. Eric looks really good in this episode.
Oh, hey!
Like the hair is herring, the outfit is just right. I'm like, Eric is giving.
Okay, so it's so funny that you bring up hair because I actually just saw an interview with Maitland Ward. She was talking about her experience on Boy Meets World, and she mentioned that not in this episode, but the episode right before this, the Christmas episode, she has very short hair, and it actually was a mistake. Where the hairdresser cut it way too short and she got fired. But they eventually like ended up styling it and liking it because she has this kind of very short, almost like Meg Ryan type of haircut right now. But it was a mistake and a person got fired because of it. So I thought that was really interesting.
I'll say this. We've heard from Pod that the hair was of the utmost importance on the set here. And again, I'm not going to deny this show has iconic hair. Yeah. I think of Eric's hair, like with the bangs, but also when he cuts it, I remember that look. Like there are so many storylines around hair, and hair is like a really big thing. And the A storyline or whatever storyline you would call this, with Shawn and Angela, the girl Kelly has like I'm like, this is like the Rachel haircut, but like, I don't know. It's like a very 90s haircut. And I was like, oh, the hair is, again, very important in this show.
100%. Yeah, it's iconic.
I just want to say, Will Friedle, in this episode, you fine. So
there you go. There you go.
Anything else you want to say? Oh, one more note. Back to roll call. Jeannie, I think it's Jeannie Jackson or Jean Jackson plays the instructor. Hated her character, it's supposed to be funny and loose and free, but when she says, I don't know, I'm filling in for my sister, I was like, nope, shut it down. Why are we doing this? Why are we like, is that even legal? Can you
just so Alan can save the day? It has to happen.
Like there's 1,000 other sitcom ways to get rid of an instructor. But to say that she is not certified to teach this course, does this even count? Like,
sue.
I don't
sue them for all they're worth.
Exactly. How could you not sue? Everyone in that class gets a refund.
At the very least. What are you going to do? Give you a coupon for the next one? Like
modern day, those Yelp reviews, 1 star.
1 star.
Okay. Any more things for
you know what? I really don't have anything much for that storyline. It was kind of simple. I think again, I know we've said it a bunch, but just my main thing was that I really would have liked more Amy in there. But other than
completely
that,
agree. Completely agree with you. Okay, now to the main course.
The main course,
which is Shawn and Angela decide that they are going to date other people. And
hold on. Before we even get there,
wait, I was getting there.
Okay,
getting there. If you would give me a second,
I'm so excited.
To say, they start off by saying, "Look, Cory, Topanga, we love you, but we don't trust you. Here's a restraining order preventing you from being involved in our lives." And I actually kind of like this, a little bit of self-awareness where they were like, we trust you, we don't trust him.
I have to say this is such kind of an important moment in the history of Shawn Hunter. Truly, like, it's not just the sign, like this whole episode, but really like what we are seeing is Shawn's descent into isolation, which is something that carries on not only through the rest of this show, but even into Girl Meets World of Shawn just disappearing. And you know what? I have to say, after watching the last few episodes, after watching the way that Cory has abused his trust again after again, at episode after episode, seeing how he tried to trust Topanga and that didn't work. Now he doesn't have Angela around. Like, I get where this dude is coming from. And so like when it started with that restraining order, and you know, I not only do I just think like, finally someone is making Cory be accountable and being like, no, I know you say you're going to do this, but I need this legally in writing that you're not going to do it. I love that they're calling that out. But just for it to start with him giving his best friend and his best friend's fiance a restraining order, and then the episode that end where the people he gave the restraining order to are the only people he has left. Like, think about that, you know?
If
like
he had like a long lost brother he could hang out with and talk to. You mean who also has like a friend group?
I mean, he has a lot of long lost siblings that he can probably try to connect to. But yeah, no, totally. Like, there's no point where he thinks that Jack is a source of home, like a some kind of comfort for him. And I mean, I think that's obvious that they've spent no time together. So of course he doesn't feel like that from Jack. So I know it starts with a restraining order and it's a funny joke. I just want to point out the fact that like, this is like the first step in something that I think is going to keep on going with Shawn's character from this point out.
Very true. And to your point, I like that it makes sense. We've actually seen the kind of fraying of Cory and Shawn's relationship. And it does have to do with Cory constantly violating Shawn's boundaries. And so I do understand how a boy whose parents are constantly on the run, who's constantly finding out about different family members in different places, and the ones that he does know about aren't really on the right path, and him just inherently having this kind of like sense of wanderlust and need to be independent just from the trauma of being raised in that environment. All of that put in a college situation where the only people who he considers family are his best friend, his best friend's fiance, and his girlfriend. But his girlfriend, he himself was like, I feel like I need this time to just explore me. So he left that link, but it's also causing friction with everything else, and he's finding himself isolated.
Yeah.
That recap, this makes total sense for the Shawn character.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to see how they resolve it.
What I love,
even acknowledge it.
Sure.
The way that it should.
Definitely. And what I love is that Shawn's instinct is, hey, me and Angela are done. high school Shawn's back, baby. The lion's out of the cage. Like, he was so like, I'm so ready to jump into this. I'm so ready to jump back into it. And then we cut to the date, and this motherfucker is miserable from the jump. He reminded me so much of, do you remember in Long Walk to Pittsburgh after Topanga leaves and Shawn tries to have the double date with him and Cory, and Cory is just like complaining that like he misses Topanga the whole time, and all the attention goes towards that. Like, he's too miserable to have fun on that date. Reminded me so much of this episode. And
isn't that the one with the... Are they twins or like they?
Yeah, girls? they were like British twins or something like that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
And so it just kind of reminded me of that whole thing of like someone feeling like they have to be on a date even though they're clearly uncomfortable and don't want to be there. I'm like, bro, go home. What do you do? Why are you here? Kelly, his date, go home.
So much. I was like, that brings me to roll call. This is Heather Marie Marsden, who is credited as Heather Marie Wayne. Who plays Kelly.
Relationship to Jason Marsden?
Trust me, not from what I can see, but I absolutely was like, is this a Jason Marsden connection? But nothing that I could find. But anyway, all of this is to say, this was another one where it's like, I don't like the way they're writing this character.
Yeah.
Because Kelly, have some self-respect.
Definitely.
Like, she is too understanding.
Yeah.
She's too understanding. Like, it's one thing to go on a date with a guy who's clearly like having some trouble, but I need her to, like, even when he's behaving this way, she's having like these little side conversations with Topanga, and she's like, no, it's fine. I understand. He's clearly going to do some things. I've heard good things about Shawn. I'm willing to overlook his current behavior and his clear not over his exness and just make this work because that's what I want. And it's like, no, she deserves to be like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Why'd you set me up with this?
At the very least, be like, oh, hey, your ex just showed up. Can we go to another restaurant? Can we bar hop? Can we go somewhere else? Is the movie about to start? Like, can we leave? Or do I have to watch this guy stare at his ex the whole
Kelly
night?
To have some agency, and I want her to say, as you said, give her a line. Can we leave? Should we go somewhere else? Like, give the opportunity to change things up, because right now, no one is comfortable. And more than anything, as Kelly, I'm not comfortable. That's all I want.
You know who seems to be the most comfortable, and shout out to Nettie for last week for kind of letting us know that this was going to happen. Angela's hotation phase is in full effect, and she seems very comfortable with Ron, her new boyfriend, or her
Ron,
new guy.
Played by Kareem Prince, who I looked it up. He like a little character actor. He was on a bunch of things, but a show called Freaky Links. He also did 33 episodes of Bold and the Beautiful, but most importantly, he played the Blue Alien Power Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Okay.
That's what I thought we would really be interested in.
A Power Ranger. Nice.
I was like, when I saw Ron come in, I was like, okay, melanin. Well, Angela said,
did you know this too?
Other black guy on campus, and we're going to make this work.
That when Shawn and Angela broke up, the first time we met Angela during the Purse episode, she went out with a black dude too. So I was just like, I think she's like, man, I don't know if I want this white dude, their drama. Like, it's too much. Maybe I need to find a brother I can take home.
I kid you not. And I'm saying this playfully, but I am currently engaged to a white man.
Yes, you are.
And there are plenty of times where I'm like, yo, if this don't work out, never again. And then, like, to me, it was like the fact that I am with you proves how much I love you.
Definitely.
And I think that that's what they're saying with Angela, is that Angela could get, and yet she chooses.
Yeah, she chooses. She chooses Shawn. Okay, can we talk about the karaoke part of this episode?
Did you think I was going to skip over that? Because a few things. One, I want to talk about the restaurant in general. What kind of restaurant is this?
Tiki bar, right?
What is with the tiki themes? We love a tiki theme in this episode.
Siege, I'm gonna have to stop you. I love a tiki bar in general. I love a good tiki bar.
Have you gone to the tiki bar in NoHo?
Oh yeah.
There's a tiki bar in NoHo that does karaoke. But the thing is, it doesn't look like this. Because it's a bar.
Yeah.
But no, if you haven't, I'll send you the link. We should go.
Yeah, because I was like, I've been to a tiki bar. No, I don't know if it had a karaoke spot, but yeah, we'll definitely 100% go to that. Because again, I love a good tiki bar, but not that anyone in the show drinks, so I don't know why they're there.
What's crazy to me is just how don't we use like the tiki set? For me, it felt like this was what we had available.
Leftover from the game show episode. Yes.
It's Chubby's becomes a pirate theme.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But I feel like we do tiki somewhere else. I just
Buccaneer
feel like
burger.
I just feel like I was like, this feels like a lot of this is what we had. Let's make the restaurant a theme. Let's like fill it in some way. But also, as you said, they can't be at a bar, which would make way more sense. They're at a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant with karaoke. What sit-down restaurant has karaoke?
What karaoke place doesn't serve alcohol? I don't know a single one. The show goes so out the way to show that they don't drink that at the end of the episode, they Alan and Amy come to Eric's apartment. They have a pizza and a case of root beer, and it says root beer very clearly because they just have to show that the characters aren't drinking.
That's like even the grown adults. Okay, so going back to that karaoke, I will say, while I was like, okay, vocals on Ron, Ron came to say, I can sing.
That's how Ron got this gig. He's like, hey guys, I can bring some vocals to this. I'll make it happen.
But one, why would you select the songs that they're selecting?
Yeah,
knowing that your ex is there. Number one. Number two, there was no chemistry between Angela and Ron on that stage. I was like, this is a first date. Y'all should be having fun. Like, y'all should be like I will say Kelly pulls her weight when it's her and Shawn on stage.
Definitely.
She's like, she gets this.
She can sing too.
Date. We're trying to have some fun with this. I'm trying to get to know you. That makes sense. But Ron and Angela, I was like y'all are just two people on stage.
You know what? I have to say that like being in the same restaurant as your ex can sometimes be uncomfortable. Yo, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever just been like you and your fiance hanging out and all of a sudden just an ex walks into the bar or into a restaurant or some shit like that?
No, because my ex lives on the other side of the country or is one of my closest friends. So
okay, so this happened to me with my high school girlfriend. After we broke up, me and my next girlfriend went to a restaurant near Disney, and we walked in and there was no place to sit but at this table, and as soon as we sat down, I looked at the table right behind us and there my ex was, and it was just so uncomfortable the entire time. And to the point where I'm like, do you want to eat fast and get the fuck out of here?
Did you stay or did you leave?
You know what? We didn't leave, but at one point, and I feel really bad about this, my ex left. Like she just got up and left. And I think it was really uncomfortable for her, but it was an uncomfortable position. Like it was just an uncomfortable thing. Like who would have thought that this would have happened where we'd been at the same place at the same time? But for them on this show to be like, oh no, it's cool, we're gonna stay, like let's do karaoke, like let's just enjoy this moment, even though there's clearly so much awkwardness from that person being 10 feet away. To me, it just didn't make any sense why they didn't just go.
I was gonna say, like, you seem to have answered my question, but you're in a restaurant, anyone who you have uncomfortable tension with is there. You guys constantly are seeing each other. Do you leave? Or do you, because I feel like part of it is just like, nah, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like,
sure, yeah.
You leave. And I don't know if, like, for me, I don't know if I'm that person, but like, I don't know. How about you? Are you leaving?
I guess it really depends. But I would say at the very least, there's not like this, like, oh, let's just hang out. Let's just like talk and talk and talk. It's more of just like let's just eat and then like go somewhere else. Like I'm not like rushing to get out, but I'm also not like trying to stay and hang out and wait for karaoke to start in the next 2 hours. Like, let's go. Like, I don't know.
Should Cory and Topanga have been like, yo, let's go somewhere else?
And that's what I was thinking too. I'm just thinking like, if you're trying to hook Shawn up with another girl, if you're trying to help him to move on, why stay at this restaurant where he's just staring at Angela the whole time? Like, what? Por qué?
We know y'all aren't far from home. Go drive to Chubby's or whatever.
Yeah.
Peg leg.
Everything is within a 10-minute walk. Where they live, the apartment, the high school, the college, it's all within walking distance, apparently. So yeah, just go home.
Okay.
One thing I just do want to say is that if I were going to pick a winner of the karaoke contest, it would be Angela and Ron.
Are we talking vocals or performance? Because again, they have the vocals, but there's zero chemistry there.
100%, and I get that. I actually thought that Ryder Strong has a nice little sweet voice. It's kind of quiet, but he's on key and he hits the notes, and it was good. I want to talk about Cory and Topanga a little bit, because as much as there's a part of me who's like kind of rolling my eyes to this whole thing, I can't deny the fact that clearly Ben and Danielle are having so much fun. They, I think, have great chemistry during the karaoke scenes. And during the epilogue, when the episode ends and we kind of circle back to them doing karaoke and they're singing and they're like laughing and they're having a good time, I'm like, this is the most fun I've seen Cory and Topanga have since they got engaged. This is the most fun I've seen them have since they got like back together after their breakup. Like, I can't remember the last time I've seen them like making each other laugh.
You're talking about the end clip though, right?
The end clip.
Like the in the episode when they first do war, Topanga is just like, this doesn't feel like our song.
Which I kind of thought was funny too, honestly.
Genre. But here's the thing. All right, so little thing about that. For me, I looked it up because I was like, this song specifically being this big at this time, what do you think of when you hear this song? What do you think of when you hear this song?
I think of like Vietnam, honestly. Like, I don't know what is popular.
Rush Hour is what I was thinking about.
Oh, yes, Rush Hour. Of course.
This Rush Hour came out in September of 98. This happened in January of 99. And again, for me, it just felt like one of those things where like someone saw it, they loved it.
It was in the zeitgeist for whatever reason at that time period. Yeah. Clearly they're just kind of goofing around. And to your point, I don't know that the post-credit scene is even canon. I don't know if that's a blooper or what that is. But it was just really nice to see those characters, or at least those actors, having chemistry and having fun with each other.
I will say, there is, I thought that the karaoke selections, again, it's just like, why would you sing It's in Its Kiss? Why would you sing I Got You, Babe? Like if you're not feeling like, you get to select the songs. They don't just assign you a song. So like, it's weird.
I mean, knowing Boy Meets World, they got the cheapest songs they could find.
No, I know that, but I'm saying in universe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like in the context. Yeah,
these songs. Like there are millions of other songs.
Because Angela and Ron's song isn't even a duet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. I also want to point out Shawn's behavior. It's one of those things where I want Kelly to have more respect for herself, because Shawn is like clearly not interested, head on the table. Angela shows up. He's like, "Oh, this is my date, Kelly." Kelly. He's just he's doing it constantly, so much so where he's like, and it's clearly not awkward. I was like, why would it be awkward? Kelly and Ron don't know how y'all are related.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they know now, but like no one knew what was going on. So you've made it weird. And I actually would have loved it. Kelly just would have been like, you know what? This is clear. You're clearly not over her.
Does Kelly fall into like a bimbo dumb blonde category? Like,
she's not. Here's the thing. She's not bimbo dumb blonde. I don't know how to say it, but it's an idealized version of a woman. She's just very understanding. She's very much like, take your time. After he embarrasses her on karaoke on stage in front of his ex-girlfriend, she's just like, hey, we'll try again another time. And it's just like, no, let Kelly be embarrassed. Let her be upset.
Yeah.
Let her be like, I'm better than this. Or like, actually just let her be like, you know what? I'll finish the song myself.
Yeah.
Like, I want dimension. Is that too much to ask?
I think so, Siege. I think so. It's 1998. Apparently, we can't do that for side female characters.
Exactly. I thought it was weird, but I will say we do get to a part where Shawn, after the karaoke and after everything, Shawn says something like, "I'm not normal."
Oh, I wrote it down. I can tell you exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, he's back at the student union and he's kind of just pouting the way he was the entire date. And Cory and Topanga are just like, oh, don't worry about it. You'll meet someone new. And Shawn kind of goes on to say that he doesn't want someone new, that he doesn't want a new relationship. He claims that, something's wrong with him and he's not normal because he can't have the relationship that Cory and Topanga has. And I just want to pause the whole thing and talk about that for a second. Because not only is this a sentiment that I've echoed a bunch throughout our podcast, I've actually interacted with people talking to us on social media saying the same thing, being like, Cory and Topanga sets such an unrealistic expectation for love that everything else feels like a failure in comparison. And it doesn't even feel possible to get the kind of love, the fake love that the show has been able to orchestrate for them. And I have to just agree with Shawn. Like, if I were this dude, these are the two that that are constantly being like the symbol of a relationship. His parents sure as hell aren't. What is he getting out of this other than an unattainable image of something that he can't have for himself? Like, it's a bummer to just be reminded of this thing that you can't have all the time. Like,
but here's the thing that's really interesting that, like, I don't know. You probably know. I don't know where we're going with the storyline. But one, Shawn, you're 19. So for Shawn being like, I don't know if I'm capable of having this type of relationship. I don't know if I'm capable. It's like, dude, you're 19. As they said, we're not normal. We're the freaks. To have found someone this young and be this committed in ways that you and I both agree aren't the healthiest ways. But I will give Cory and Topanga this, which is that they are committed. They are secure in their relationship with each other. So that's rare at this young of an age. And I just wish that someone had pointed out to him, dude, you're 19 years old. You're not supposed to be so sure about love or have it figured out. You've done nothing. You've done nothing but date random girl after random girl after random girl. You've had one really serious relationship and it didn't work out, which is unfortunate, and that happens. But at the end of the day, you were never supposed to find your soulmate in high school, your soulmate in college. Like, it takes experimenting, it takes dating.
I can shed insight. I think I have some insight on this because at the time that I was 18, 19, and 20, all of my Christian friends were getting engaged and married, to the point where you go to so many weddings when you're 19 years old, you're just like, is this the thing I'm supposed to do? Like, it's true that, like, who you surround yourself with is a great influence on yourself and your ability to think about what you can accomplish in life. And so if you're surrounding yourself with someone who's been coupled up since they're 3 and you haven't been able to keep a relationship, I also want to point out that, like, this is such a great dissection of being a child of divorce. Like, Cory and Topanga's parents are together. They had a symbol of what it means to have a relationship that they can look to as something as an inspiration, whereas Shawn has nothing to pull from. He has no example of what a solid relationship is, because even Cory and Topanga's relationship is not solid. So it's like that thing of just, like, he has nothing to compare himself to but these two people, and these two people have such an unrealistic love that what does he have to reach for? Like, he needs to separate for his own good.
But here's the thing, he does. Eric doesn't have a long-term relationship. Jack doesn't have a long-term relationship. Rachel doesn't have a... You know who would really understand and be able to connect with Shawn in this moment? Rachel. Someone who committed and moved their entire life to be with somebody, and then she's recently broken up and had to figure out a way to move on. Wow. This is a perfect moment for Rachel and Shawn to have a storyline together where she's like, hey, you will get through this. I did it. You can do that.
Wow. You know what? That is an amazing point. Make Rachel relevant again. Like, she went through this heartbreak. Shawn is going through one. He could be the one who's, like, hanging out at Jack and Eric's apartment, and then Rachel can just come up and they can have this moment together. I love that so much. That's the way
what I'm saying. Like, I was really, when I was like, why isn't Shawn going to hang out with Jack? Even just to get away with from Cory and Topanga and Angela. just so he can do that, hang out with them. While he's hanging out with them, Jack's like, I don't really know how to help you in this situation. But Rachel's like, you know who does? Me. Because I broke up with someone and I had to figure out how to put my life back together. And I also had to learn that it's not just me. I have 2 roommates, 2 friends who I enjoy, and they help make my life complete. This is my thing. It's like the thesis of Boy Meets World is, at least with Cory and Topanga, and to be fair, we even kind of get into this with Girl Meets World, is life is not complete unless you have a partner. And finding that Cory and Topanga love should be the goal. And in game should be Shawn and Angela. Or like, it's like, no, you can have a full life and still be single. When Shawn's like, I am alone. It's like, dude, you are single, and that's not the same thing as being alone.
Yeah.
And again, as we've talked about, it totally makes sense that he would feel alone, considering the fact that the closest relationship he's ever had his entire life is Cory, and Cory has violated his boundaries again and again and again. So feeling alone makes sense, but this is a great opportunity to teach the importance or the benefits of being single. And as a kids television show, you need an alternative to this once in a lifetime relationship that is Cory and Topanga, and show someone like Shawn that it's okay to not be them.
What the show actually does is show us that without having his significant other, his Topanga in his life falls apart. It falls into shambles.
Correct.
And so, like, I have to just say, as just a fan taking in this content as a child, this fucked with my brain. It fucked with my whole understanding of like a relationship. Like, you know, we were kind of joking earlier off camera about you know, that friend who's like, my boyfriend's coming, my boyfriend's on their way, even though they just started dating. And it's that thing of like feeling like, hey, I need someone in order to bring validity to my life somehow. And it's so dangerous to infect that idea into the minds of children, but Boy Meets World kind of did that in a really big way. So, you know, it's interesting to see how it's affecting Shawn, but it's also interesting to see how the show is treating Shawn's perception of it. It's not that Shawn, like to your point, can find a peace and find resolution in himself. He falls apart without having someone.
But here's the also dangerous part of that. In this storyline, because let's just track it. Because Shawn decided that once he got to college, he wanted to be single, he broke up with Angela. And Angela stood and waited by to kind of like see how it would feel. And Shawn was like, actually, I'm not going to go for it. I still need to be single. So Angela was like, fine, I'm going to move on. But now that she's moving on and she has Ron, or she's going to do her rotation, as you should do in college, Shawn is starting to spiral in loneliness. And what's that going to do to Angela? That's going to make Angela feel partially responsible. And this is what I'm saying the problem is. If you can't show a character maturing and learning that it's okay to be single, then what you actually say is that him being single is a problem and he can't do anything about it. He's depressed. You know who's responsible? The girl who he jilted. That's her responsibility. You got to think about your ex now because he's spiraling. Are you just going to let him do that? Or do you actually care about him? And you get into this cycle of women being taught through television and media and society that it's their responsibility to take care of the man who hurt them time and time.
So true. Because like, honestly, when
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you recap it like that in terms of how Angela's literally just been kind of like hanging around waiting for Shawn to get his act together. It's like, yeah, what right do you have to be upset over this girl that you told twice you didn't want to date? So like, what are you really upset about? And so like, I thought you just brought up a great point there.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out that like, again, Angela living her life, having a good time, but we see Shawn feels like, oh, I'm alone. And he's a sympathetic thing, but it's important to remember that you chose to be alone. You wanted to go on this journey. So why not let him go on this journey? But being like, hey, actually being single is where I need to be right
Yeah.
now.
He is choosing to be alone, but we also have to like and here's the thing, like if
But
we're looking at
wait, again, not alone, single. There's a
single,
difference.
yes. Yeah, you're right. But no, what I mean is that he is also purposefully isolating himself, and he's going to continue to purposefully isolate himself. And that speaks more to Shawn's trauma. That speaks more to his mental health than it does to Angela. But unfortunately, like you said, most of the time when we're consuming media like that, the camera never turns on Shawn kind of having those inward conversations. Maybe we do. I honestly, the next few episodes I haven't seen in quite a long time, so I really don't know the way things are going to shake out. But it would be nice to just kind of understand that both things can be true. That yes. Angela could just choose what's best for her in a way that's not an attack on Shawn and to make him feel sad. And Shawn can be single without it being Angela's fault, and that he can find pride in himself throughout that time and love for himself. Like both of those things can happen, but in this show, it does not. So that's kind of the one critique I really have, is just that I really wish, like you said, that this emphasis on having a relationship like Cory and Topanga wasn't the central premise of what seems to be the series itself.
Correct.
So
here's the thing. I will say, I do like that we are getting like this Shawn story arc.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. As much as we critique and we have like a lot of things to say, I like that we are exploring what college is like for Shawn. Well, not what college is like, because they're barely in class, but what the struggles that you go through when you are 19 and you are comparing yourself to your peers and you're constantly being like, they can do it, why can't I? And I just think that what we know of Boy Meets World, how it teaches lessons about life, I think this would have been a great opportunity to just kind of teach through the character of Shawn that sometimes going down your own path is what you need to do compared to your friend who seems to have it all figured out.
I didn't watch a lot of Girl Meets World, but would I be correct in saying that even on Girl Meets World, him getting a life partner is the central thing that gives him ultimate fulfillment and happiness? Is that what ends up happening?
I don't know if I would say it that strongly, but I will say end game is to have him paired up. And it's one of those things where, especially on television, but also kind of in life, people kind of be like, oh, what's best for you is what was best for me.
Yeah.
So like they do it, if we're going to be honest, in Sex and the City, they kind of really tried that at the first movie, where it was just like all of these characters, even some who don't need to be in relationships, you have to be paired off, because that's what a true happy ending is. And what I really like is later on, they kind of course corrected and they had the character Samantha be like, actually, I do best single. That's me at my greatest. And I've done the relationship and I proved that I could do the relationship. But relationship isn't in game for me.
Yeah.
Being the best me is in game for me. And that to me is a more important lesson that needs to be taught as we enter a society that's kind of changing and people aren't dating as much as they used to, and they're not like, you need to be able to be fulfilled as a single person and know that life can be fulfilling even if it's just you. And I know that seems weird coming from someone who's engaged and someone who's married, but in reality, like for me, I only met my partner because I had gotten to a place where I was like, I'm cool. I don't need to find someone else.
Well,
then I stumbled into it. It wasn't like I was like, I need to find this thing. I need this Cory and Topanga love. I just honestly was like, I will be okay being me.
Well, I would even say that even if you're lucky enough, or you end up with, I wouldn't even say lucky enough, because it's not always luck. If you end up with a partner, if you go into that relationship with that mindset of like, I need a partner to feel whole, that relationship is going to have problems anyway. So
correct.
Like I just feel like there should always be a place for, whether you're single or in a relationship, to just feel comfortable with yourself and feel comfortable knowing that you can meet your needs and you're not dependent on anyone else for your happiness. Like that is just something that I feel like everyone can benefit from.
This has been Bruh Meets Therapy.
No,
Do you have anything else you want to say?
no, I think that's it.
I have a few observations that I want to say just about like the entire episode.
Yeah.
One, I will say this is your Middle East crisis. Hilarious. So, also, when Eric goes, Miss, mine's broken. Both the first time, but especially the second time when Jennifer goes into labor. Hilarious. And then lastly, what was going on with Angela's hair at the end when they're all in the quad? Did you see her hair?
You know what? I have to
ribbons?
say, I didn't pay attention to it because I was so distracted with Ron being there, because I was just like, oh, Ron's hanging out with all these white kids. I wonder what this is like for him. Like, my mind went on the whole other thing.
Like, okay, Ron's still there. Like,
Yeah.
Ron was like, I'm more than just a little bit. We seeing each other. I'm in the friend group hang.
Yeah.
So I was like, good old Ron. But I want everyone to take another look at that ending and tell me what is going on with Angela's hair. It was so good when we first see her. The first scene with Angela, I was like, her hair is herring. I love it. This last one, I don't know who made that decision, but please make a different one.
She did. Again, all of these choices fell on her.
Here's the thing.
And
I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm not excusing it.
I'm telling you right now. I looked at that and I was like, I don't know if this is Trina. Because the first look is like, when we first meet Angela, it's there. This feels like they were like, well, we have the hairdresser. Do something with Angela's hair. It just feels like you. I don't know if you've ever been there, but have you ever been in a situation where they're like, well, in order to make you feel like everyone else, we're going to give you time with this person who doesn't know what to do with you. You're like, I would rather you not do anything than force this situation.
Yeah, it's when white people try to cut my hair.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I haven't had a white person cut my hair in forever.
Asian people cut my haircut, give me the best haircuts of my life. I found out
a Dominican
that's
barber.
So funny.
They gonna do me right. They gonna
Asians
my
come
hair
through
has, like,
for
a different
me.
texture.
Yeah,
really.
I don't know what it
Asians
is.
Can't cut my hair.
So funny. But yeah, no, I have to just be like, Trina, she's doing the best she can. She's got kids. She's on set. Like, they're throwing her all this shit. Maybe she just didn't have time to do it. Maybe someone tried to step in. But to your point, like, it doesn't. But it's the 90s. It's like the late 90s. Like, even like if you watch Friends, like Phoebe has crazy things going on with her hair sometimes.
Absolutely.
Like, Spice Girls were big. It was just like a time of like expression in a way.
Experimenting with hair. No, trust me. I mean, we like those. I know people, the butterfly clips,
all that shit. Like, it was just popping at the time. So part of it, I kind of chalk up to just being of its time period as well.
Okay. What is the Feeny lesson?
Without love, you're nothing. You're gonna die alone. Right?
I don't feel like that's it.
The Feeny lesson, I think I'm going to take more from the B storyline, which is that emotional support is the thing that makes the biggest difference in a person's life, versus like we're kind of getting into like love languages here, but compared to the acts of service that Alan thought that meant a lot to Eric, he was like, no, it was actually your words of affirmation. It was actually, like all of these other deeply emotional elements.
Love languages.
So like, to me, it just, that's probably the best thing to take out of the episode versus the Shawn and Angela storyline, which I think is just that, you need to be able to be okay single. Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with both of yours. Bruh moment.
Alan is 43 years old. That's the thing. I'm still just like, bro, like that. And also like the whole thing I was talking about Cory and Topanga's relationship being put on this pedestal as like the most ideal relationship a person can have. But truly the thing that's going to stick with me the longest is that Alan had a midlife crisis at 43 years old.
Absolutely. My bruh moment is going to be Eric just walking in and be like, man, these women are fat.
Yes. Yeah.
I couldn't get over it. And it really made me angry. Okay. What grade? What grade are you giving this episode?
I'm gonna give this episode a B-. I thought it was a fine episode. I thought that I liked seeing Alan and Amy. I liked seeing Eric do something that's not torturing his roommates. But yeah, like it was just kind of like a whatever episode. I came in with zero expectations, so I enjoyed it probably more than I think I would have otherwise. But yeah, I'll say B minus.
I'm gonna give it a C plus. I felt like it was like we're in the same range. Like I think you were a little bit more forgiving. I was like,
yeah,
I could have done like there were like a lot of decisions I didn't really agree with. But I do feel like it wasn't a complete waste of an episode.
Sure.
You know? And then also, I really do look forward to seeing where we go with Shawn's storyline because again, we are hinting at something really, really big.
I think it's gonna get dark, bro. I think it's gonna get.
Oh yeah, dark. I mean, but like sometimes, sometimes in life when it rains, it pours. You know, like,
and that's the case for Shawn this season really for sure. Yeah.
Okay, is it time for homework?
I think it is.
What homework do you have?
Well, you know what's so funny? Like, I feel like I'm kind of ping-ponging back and forth because I always come in here and I'm like, oh, this new horror movie came out. I'm so excited to talk about Matilda the musical and just the complete juxtaposition to all of my typical horror recommendations.
Yeah.
I love musicals. I've loved the Matilda soundtrack for the show. I haven't gotten a chance to see it on stage. And I've just loved, there's like a few songs that I really, really love. Not all the songs are as strong, but there's about 2 or 3 really great ones. But this Netflix movie that they've done, Emma Thompson eats at this role as the Trunchbull. She is eating every scene she's given. I'm just like, okay, Emma Thompson, like you just turn this. She turns the Trunchbull into like, you know, when you see like actors like being like, oh, I want to do my turn as the Joker.
Yeah,
like. I thought she made the Trunchbull so interesting that I'm like, oh, I want to see all these women do like different renditions of the Trunchbull because like she just had such a great. Her prosthetics were amazing. The kids had phenomenal performances. I still prefer the Danny DeVito film of the 90s. I mean, always.
How are you going to overcome that?
But in terms of just like a really fun movie with some great music and just the bottom line always being that kids have more power than we give them and that they have more autonomy than they're given. I just think it's just a great lesson all around. So I just think it was a really good movie, great performances. The songs are stuck in my head. The choreography is all over TikTok right now. Like everyone is trying to do the Matilda dance. And it's just because the choreography is fantastic in this movie. Some of it gets a little like, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a perfect film, but I genuinely thought it was a fun Friday night. So I recommend that.
I've heard nothing but positive things, and every single person that I have every single person who has spoken about this has said that the Matilda musical it just hits. So
can I tell you with this one thing about it? So I don't know how much you remember of the original.
I remember all of it. Like the movie it's one of those things where it's like it's ingrained. It's in there.
So to know the relationship that the Trunchbull has with Miss Honey,
yes,
and in this new version to make Miss Honey black, knowing that the Trunchbull takes everything from her.
Ooh, we saying something. We making statements.
There's some subtext that I don't know would have been there otherwise, but to me, I was just like, oh, I'm picking up on the subtext. I don't know if it's supposed to be there. I don't know if they purposefully casted a black actress for this role, but it works on a different level because of it. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Okay, so my homework, I'm gonna do something that I don't usually do, but I have been consuming new content and I was like, what can I recommend? Because like I'm like, do I want to put my stamp of approval on this? So instead I have optional homework.
Ooh.
If it's your thing, go for it. If you don't like it, don't say that I told you to watch it, because like but like Netflix just came out with this show, Kaleidoscope.
Oh, I've seen it. I haven't seen an episode, but I've seen it advertised. I'm interested.
Okay, so let me give you a little breakdown of Kaleidoscope, because I actually think I think everything they did was right with the exception of a few things. And so the whole point of Kaleidoscope is that every single account gets a different order of the episodes. Like all the episodes, each one is named after a color. So like red, green, pink, orange, so on and so forth. And your own episode order may be different from my episode order. You can watch them however you can watch them out of order. Like there are plenty of things online to say, like, if you want to watch the story chronologically, this is the way to do it. But like the whole point is each episode is a piece that the only rule is you have to watch the white episode last. Like,
okay,
that episode is the last one, and then everything else can be watched in any order. And I actually really enjoyed it for that, where it's like you get different perspectives, you get different clues, you understand certain things going in, and you're like, oh, that's why this happened. But like the order in which you watch greatly influences what you think other people's motivations are. What do you think the storyline is like?
sure.
And I just find that very interesting. I think it was like a great approach, and I love the swings that it took. I will say some things were lacking for me. The overall performances, I will say, is where I feel things were the weakest. The story, it's all that for me, it's a puzzle where you're like, oh, all these pieces fit. These pieces fit. Did I have fun? I don't know. But I enjoyed my time, which is a different question, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's number one. Number two, have you seen Kindred on Hulu?
No, I have not.
Okay, let me give you a little breakdown on Kindred. And I'm giving y'all these back to back because I don't want to make them homework later. So I was like, they get half of a credit each. Kindred is this show on Hulu. It's based off a book I have not read, but essentially this Black girl moves to LA to a new house, and all of a sudden she gets dragged. She lives in 2016 now, and she just like wakes up and she's in 1816. But like on a slave plantation as a Black person.
It's a nightmare.
And she has all of her memories. She knows everything that's going on. She just doesn't know why she's there, and she doesn't know how to get back. But the thing is, she does go back. And so there's a point in time where she goes back and she meets this white dude, and this white dude is like, hey, I believe you because I saw you literally disappear in front of my eyes. You were here 1 second, you were gone the next. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for you. And then they both get dragged back, but they don't know how to get, like, again, she can't control it, but she just keeps going back and forth between 2016 and 1816. And like a mystery is unfolding and you're trying to figure it out. As much as I enjoy the premise and I think that it's crazy and insane, and they actually are touching on so many things, I will also say it's one of those stories where me personally, the character frustrates the crap out of me. It's one of those things where like, why are you not doing this thing? Like, and like, you know how these things go. Why are you not making these decisions? As a Black person, as a white person, why are y'all not just doing stuff? I can't stand characters who are inactive in situations that I believe someone should be doing something. So anyway, I want both shows. I would love for people to check out. Let me know what you think. If anything, so I can have a conversation. But like, yeah, that's my homework.
Awesome, bro. That's good homework.
All right. Anything else you want to say?
Not really. We're still getting a lot of positive interactions online from our Pod Meets World interview that we did. We want to thank everybody for just all the support that we've gotten there. And yeah, just continue to share our podcast, like and review. We're on YouTube. We're on all of the podcast streaming sites. So just, giving us comments, giving us likes, all that stuff helps us out a lot, and we appreciate it.
A lot of you have been giving us ratings. Please leave more ratings. More 5-star rating, 5, 4, preferably 5.
Preferably 5.
Start leaving us ratings. And then also, don't forget that you can go leave us a voice message on our website. We will play it on the pod, answer your questions. We actually just really appreciate you guys listening and giving us your feedback. You all have been really fun and engaging on social media. So we wanted to say thank you.
Absolutely. And as always, we want to remind you to dream.
Try.
Oh, did you have...
No, I said try.
Oh. I just want to make sure.
Okay, let's not take that from the top.
Okay, take it from the top.
Remember to dream,
to try,
and
do good.
Later, bro.
Later, bro.
When this boy meets world.